Testimony number one was just very confusing. Welcome back to Creatures of Sonaria's most controversial commentary channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that's very confusing to me. But before we go to testimony number one, let's talk about the previous video I made. This is again the continuation of COS testimonies. So in the previous video I made, I talked about the tester doxing joke and whatnot, and I also talked about the introduction pages and everything. So when I was talking about all of this in the comments, one of the commenters made a very interesting point to me, and they said I'm victim blaming, and they said it in a very respectful way that I want to say thank you so much, and I appreciate for people who agree to disagree with me while being respectful and civil. So about the victim blaming part, am I victim blaming them? No, I don't think I'm victim blaming them because I don't see them as victims. You can clearly argue that, hey, it doesn't matter if you see them as victims or not, you're still victim blaming, and that I can agree with. But I don't see them as victims because I feel like they are victimizing themselves to make them look like victims. But at the end of the day, they're just sad bunch of people who wants to be pitied for, and they're honestly very malicious in actuality. And I'll show you why I mean this, right? I'll show you why that I really don't think they're victims, especially the testers, the testers who were supposedly banned, testers and mods who got supposedly, wrongfully banned for doxing jokes. I want to show you some interesting things that I forgot to show you in the previous video. So a few people came into my DMs. One of the people actually were one of the people who got banned for the doxing joke, and they admitted to the fact that they did indeed make those, like their group indeed make those doxing joke. But again, I'm not gonna take his words for full evidence because they didn't tell me what their users were and they didn't give me any concrete evidence. So I'm gonna ignore them. But I just thought it would be, interesting to bring it up that one of the supposed people, came to me and admitted the fact that it really did happen. So, but yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Again, I don't know who this is. I don't trust them, so I'll say like whatever to that. But one of my informants that I genuinely trust came to me with evidence that kind of fortified what the previous guy told me. So my informant, who is not a part of the band, showed me in info that I genuinely think blew my mind because yeah, they sent me screenshots of the conversations that took place in the server where, I got investigated for the doxing joke. They showed me inside images and screenshots of their conversations, and I honestly started just like exploding with joy. Of course, like I can't say their name because I don't want to expose them or their sources. So I'm just gonna say they're very trustworthy. And in one of the screenshots I forgot to show you is this STYX. Who is that? Most of you might know, most of you might not know. I don't know. But this person is apparently the leader of the family server. The family server is a server that got investigated because they were making doxing jokes. So this person is the leader. And you can see in the screenshot that they said no because everything we got banned for was true. They I, again, take this with a grain of salt as well. I'm not bringing up this evidence like, oh my gosh, look at this is exposed, got exposed, blah blah blah. I don't want to like say this is concrete evidence because again, it could be taken out of context, and even though my informant is trustworthy, their sources might not be. So take this with a grain of salt. They might be talking about another band, but what else band would they be talking about? This is very obviously related to their actual band, and yeah. And here's more evidence at the fact that they are the leader of the family server and that they were talking about how Tokelis is like investigating them and like how Tokelis is agreeing with them and blah 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 and all that. So this guy just said what they got banned for was true. So if indeed this is actual evidence, and if indeed this is under the same context, and if indeed this is the actual person confessing to the ban of the doxing joke, then ladies and gentlemen, this leads me to a question. Why did the COS moderation team back down and say, hey, we're sorry for the wrong ban, when if the ban itself is true, admitted by their leader? The leader who were a part of the server, the leader who is also one of the people who I think got banned in the doxing joke. If they admitted themselves, why did the COS moderation team back down and said they made a wrong turn in the moderation? Well, I think it's because the COS moderation, and again, this is all speculation. I think the COS moderation backed down because they were afraid of, public outrage and whatnot. And I think they backed down because they just didn't want the influence of these testers and volunteers to overwhelm them. And maybe that's why they did this. And if they did, well, COS, you are very legless and spineless. That is pathetic of you. Why would you do that? If what you banned them for was true, keep them banned. Who cares about like their influence? If they are genuinely bad people, then who cares, right? If you lose a few numbers. But yeah. Again, take all of this information of them admitting and whatnot with a grain of salt, because even though I trust my guy, again, their sources might not be as reliable. So just take this, put this in your head, and this is also one of the reasons why I don't think they're victims, but actual people, like bad people, somewhat semi bad people, just acting like victims. So yeah, now let's go to the meat of this entire context. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the testimony number one, and this is the introduction page, saying how they have anonymous volunteers, TLDR of course, they're anonymous volunteers, making like these little statements of their experiences and about how their identities are hidden to protect them from Sonar HR retaliation. And they also talked about how, if they do get banned, this document still exists, and that to read this with an open mind and heart. Again, I can't be open mind and hearted when these volunteers and testimonies are coming from anonymous people. If I don't know who this person is, how do I know that this anonymous person has any credibility or any reputation? How do I know that they're not troublemakers or make-believe characters that are just there to solidify or make you guys seem more victim-like? How do I know, and how can I trust this entire thing? And don't tell me it's because they make the document or whatnot. The people who make this card or document, they have no same authority figure as a police officer, so I really don't trust them. But of course, we have to go on. Testimony number one. I've read all of this and it's honestly painful. I've already recorded this video like what 6-7 times already, and I'm already getting tired. So I'm just gonna TLDR all of this. So they basically said they have been a COS mod for like 9 months, and that it was fun to begin with. Then Aridia makes it hard for everyone, so they start slowly disliking it after Aridia was berating them, insulting them, and not giving them in-game mod perms and all that, and basically saying that COS just got way more tiresome for them instead of enjoyable in the beginning. So before we continue, I want to know, what evidence do they have? Current evidence, not 2022, not 2021 evidence, but current evidence of Aridia being a genuine jerk of a boss to their mod staff and any other staff. To make claims like how Aridia berated them and belittled them for every little thing is a huge claim, because they are the owner of the game, and it's a huge claim, and I want to see in-game evidence. No, not in-game evidence. I want to see real screenshots, real evidence where Aridia is a genuine jerk. If not, you can't just easily say this. This is why I don't like anonymous names, because I don't know their credibility. Anyone could just type this out, and yeah, no. Don't say Aridia is a bad person. They might have a very, questionable reputation with their own community, but don't say they're a bad person without any evidence. That's just plainly disgusting. So yeah. Going on, they also said about how, they got banned for quote unquote, well, not banned, sorry. They got demoted for quote unquote accidentally leaking a creature to a friend, which it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. How do you accidentally leak a creature? And they talked about how like HR has no other evidence than the testers saying that this leak has occurred to their friend and whatnot. So how do you accidentally leak a creature? That's my question. So going on in this other huge paragraph, most of the points are just them blaming that Cena manipulated them, and like Cena made them lurk in servers that Cena was having no access on, and that to say things on behalf of Cena and to show things on behalf of Cena and all that. So apparently in this huge paragraph, most of the points are just Cena being manipulative, apparently. And yeah, no, and they also repeatedly brought in the fact that Cena was a good friend to them, and it just sounds like a pity show, Honestly, it just sounds like they're trying to garner sympathy and trying to paint Cena as this horrible and like manipulative, crazy person. But yeah, no, I'm not sure where this comes from. I'm not sure if the accidentally leaking creature, the motion, and this is any way connected. Maybe it is, and I'm not really getting it. If it isn't, then it just feels so out of place. Honestly, it's my opinion, and I just feel like it's so out of place, and I feel like this is a shock factor to just lead us away from any other questioning and just hate Cena for no reason. Again, I want full concrete evidence, and they actually presented a lot of evidence. And I have to say, Cena, you're not looking in a very good spot because they do have evidence where Cena is controlling them into saying what else to say and what to say and all that. But at the same time, I don't know the dynamic they have with Cena. They could just well be an okay factor with this. So I'm not really sure where to stand on, but so far, the fingers are all pointed at Cena, and it kind of makes it difficult to believe Cena, and it kind of makes Anonymous 1 or Testimony number 1 have a very good point that Cena did actually manipulated them. And honestly, that sounds pretty heartless of you, Cena. If you genuinely manipulated them, shame on you. But if the testimony number 1 is making things up and taking screenshots out of context to make Cena look bad, well, testimony number 1, what the fuck? You are equally as heartless if you're making all of this up to make Cena look bad. That's so heartless, and I know who you are, so that's very heartless of you. And but yeah, no. Other than that, Cena, you're not in a good spot. But going back to them saying that there is no evidence of their, accidental leak of a creature and the motion. Going back to that, they also mentioned about the fact that there is zero evidence other than their admission, admission to the accidental leak. So in their eyes, there is no evidence other than them admitting to the fact that they leaked the creature. So what the fuck? You want to say it's zero evidence while also bringing up a very good evidence, which is your confession, and saying that it's unfair that you got banned or not banned, warned and demoted? Are you serious? I'm not I'm not sure if your brain gears are functioning or I'm not even sure if you have a brain to begin with if you're questioning that this is unfair and that you shouldn't have been punished because you confessed to leaking a creature. Even if it's accidentally, which I still don't know how you could accidentally leak a creature. Even if it's accidentally, you still confess to it. There doesn't need to be any other evidence if you confess to it. Also, the confession makes it obvious that you were okay with being demoted at first because you confessed to it, but now suddenly you have an issue with it. You're just the same as the tester in the previous video that said they understand why they got banned and demoted, blah blah blah, but then complained about it in the document. You're both the same. This is what I mean. You people are okay at first and are willing to confess and all that, but then suddenly go, it's not fair, it's unfair, it's not good that they banned me, blah blah blah. It's just self-entitlement, honestly. If you think this is unfair, well, then fucking get ready for life, I guess. Before we end the video, there was a person who came into my DMs and they started telling me very interesting things that I really, at first I thought it would be like table turning parts of evidence, but what they said to me were pretty much just, honestly, just not very good evidence. I'll be honest. This person, I'm not gonna name them. They came to me at first, and I don't really trust them because, again, like many people come to me acting like they have evidence or whatnot. So I don't really trust them, and I also encourage all of you who are watching this video right now to take all of this with a grain of salt. To not believe them or believe me immediately. Read it yourself, investigate things yourself first. So they came to me saying that they have evidence that the person lied about Cena just to create shock content, and they're also the person who told me the name of testimony number 1, and they showed me evidence that made me kind of trust them that they are a reliable source because they sent me information and screenshots that I'm pretty sure only people who have access in those cards and whatnot or previous cards versions of these cards would have. Like this, for example. They have these screenshots, and I don't know. It was I guess it just kind of solidifies that I can trust them as a source because again, why would anyone else have it other than the people who have access to the card or people who have sources and informations related to the card before its final release? So yeah, no, I kind of trust them, but at the same time, they are a little. I don't know. They are a little frantic. I didn't properly read it when they first sent it to me, so I just said I love them for all this information. But reading it, um, no, it's very nitpicky to me as well. I don't know. They said about how like, this person added grooming and whatnot, and I don't know. The word grooming is used for more than non-sexual things, and the testimony number one person, also made it clear that this grooming they're about to mention is non-sexual. So yeah, you still can kind of say with this context that Cena did groom them into like making them do things for them and manipulating them. So, yeah, even if they edit these in the final document or card, I still wouldn't see a problem with it because it's still kind of, you know, it still kind of relates to the context. So yeah. So those two screenshots wasn't really table turning. It's just basically things that makes me trust this source, that they are indeed reliable. And they also did say very interesting little things about how they're trying to do this with malicious intent and to defame and slander Cena and whatnot, which makes me kind of kind of like trust them less, like when making this video because you know they could be working with Cena to try and like defame the other person back. So again, take this with a grain of salt. They then showed me like things that I kind of like not am not really interested in, and they just showed me things about like how they accidentally exposed themselves and whatnot. But when I read it into it, it's not really that interesting, and it's not really something that was exposed material worthy. So other than that, I'm just gonna say that this person's sources isn't, you know, that interesting, even if it is reliable. It's not that interesting. But yeah, testimony number one, just in conclusion, your entire thing is a he said, she said. Even though you do have very like large amount of evidence, I do still want to note that, you know, you kind of deserve the motion. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Tell me your, you know, little decisions, your little stance and everything. With all that being said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, folks.